Our shir this morning, our shurim this month are dedicated by Sarah and Ayal Steinberg in commemoration of the yahrzeit of Ayal's mother. We hope that on the merit of our Talmud Torah and Neshama have an aliyah and the family a nechama. So let's begin Meisvei. So remember again, yesterday we did a really beautiful Mishnah, and the feedback about the Mishnah was actually off the charts. It was incredible. So again in the Mishnah we spoke about still the topic of what happens if you go ahead and you place the blood in the wrong place. So sacrificial blood is supposed to be placed on the side of the Mizbeach. In the case of the Mishnah, you put it on top of the ramp. So or any other deviation for that matter. So the Mishnah said that it is pasul ve'in bo kares. Shmuel came along and said, what does it mean when the Mishnah says it's pasul? It means that the meat is pasul, right? But kapara has been achieved. That was the position of Shmuel. So we spent yesterday analyzing and ultimately challenging that particular position. So we'll say now we're going to go right with that today. Meisvei. So the Gemara is now going to challenge that position. Meisvei. So we'll say the Gemara quotes an interesting brisa. In this brisa, what happens? The Kohen has in mind. He doesn't actually do anything, but he has kavana. So we'll say, remember again, we spoke about this yesterday, although we'll get into greater depth with this. On the Mizbeach itself, the side of the Mizbeach, there was a red line. Some blood applications had to be done on top of the line. Some blood applications had to be done below the line. So what happens if the Kohen has intention to put blood that was supposed to go on top on the bottom, or on the bottom on top? So what's that? Alter kosher. So we'll say, look at Rashi for just a moment. It's 6 lines up from the bottom of Rashi. So Rashi says, litein la'alter in chishev almenas lizrok shelo b'mkomo hayom kosher. We'll say if the Kohen had the intention to throw the blood, albeit in the wrong place, but to do it today, right? To do it, and I will say, I just want to point out, Rashi points out over here that this machshava is taking place during when? Either during shchita, kabbalah, or holacha. So during one of the avodos prior to the zrika, the Kohen has in mind to throw the blood in the wrong place. So let's say, for example, it was blood that was supposed to be sprinkled below the red line. He had intention to sprinkle it above the red line. But when did he have intention to do this? Lialter. If his intention was to do it now, in other words, during the shechita, he has in mind, I'm going to do the shechita, then I'm going to do the kabbalah, I'm going to do the halacha, and then I'm going to do the sprinkling below the line. So we'll say, what's the halacha? The carbon is kosher. The carbon is kosher. However, again, lemachar pasul. Rabbi say if at the end of the day he had in mind to what? To sprinkle the blood tomorrow, then ultimately again the carbon will be pasul. Chazer v'chishev. Supposed to listen to this. What happens if? Look at Rashi. Chazer v'chishev ba'avoda shniya amnas la'achlo chutz limkomo pasul ve'in chayav and karis ha'achilas. We'll say, watch this. Let's say that same Kohen has during one of these subsequent avodos intention to go ahead and eat the carbon outside of its prescribed area. So we'll say, let's say during shechita, he has in mind to go ahead and sprinkle the blood below the red line, even though again the blood is supposed to be sprinkled above the line. All right, but his intention is to do that la'alter immediately. Then during Kabbalah, he has in mind that he's going to eat the carbon outside of its prescribed area. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Top of Chav Zayin, chutz limkomo, pasul. The halacha is the carbon is pasul, ve'ein bo kares. But ultimately, again, there is no obligation, or I should say, there is no punishment of kares. Chutz lizmano, if he went ahead and did one of the avodos he had in mind, that he was going to do some part of the avodah outside of the prescribed time, then what? Pigul, ultimately the carbon is pigul, the chayovin alav kares. And ultimately, again, he will be chayiv kares for that. Limachar, but I will say, what happens if he has in mind to go ahead and do some part of the avodah tomorrow? Look at Rashi for just a moment. Well, actually, lemachar pasul. Look at Rashi. It's Rashi on the last of the wide lines on top. Avalim osa machshava shechishev ba'avoda rishona liten as hanitana lemata lemala. I will say, if when he had that first machshava, right? Remember again, this is going back for just a moment. When he had, let's say during shechita, that he has in mind to go ahead and sprinkle the blood in the wrong place, right? But he has in mind to do it lemachar, to do it tomorrow. So Rashi, I'm just finishing that Rashi. Chishev lizvar gosa zrika lemachar pasol ki demokmina lekaman midi. So we'll say, listen to this. So lemachar pasol. So watch this. So now we're going back. So let's say again, remember, we'll say in this case, it's actually quite interesting because in this case, the Kohen is having two wrong intentions, right? The first wrong intention is for the sprinkling of the blood. The second wrong intention is for consumption outside of the permitted area. So lamachar, so we'll say if the Kohen goes ahead, let's say when he's doing the shechita, has in mind to sprinkle the blood in the wrong place, but he has in mind to do it tomorrow. So chazer v'chishev bein chutz lizmano bein chutz limkomo pasel ve'in bo kares. And Abba say, then let's say subsequently, he goes ahead and what? He goes ahead and has in mind during one of the other avodos to go ahead and either consume the sacrificial meat outside of the prescribed time or outside of the prescribed place, then indeed the carbon is pasal ve'ein bo kares. But ultimately, again, there is no obligation or there is no prohibition of kares. Rashi says, Chazar v'chishev ba'avoda shniya bin chutz lizmano bin chutz limkomo pasal ve'ein bo kares daha ifsile b'machshava kamaisa. Because we'll say, listen to this. Well, let me just explain this to you for just a moment. What the Gemara is suggesting also over here is as follows. I'll just illustrate this with the case. During the shechita, the Kohen has in mind to do the blood application in the wrong place. Okay, does that by itself invalidate the carbon? We've already seen the answer to that is no. No, right? Because remember again, as long as that blood reaches the Mizbeach, we're good. What's the problem over here? The problem over here is he had in mind to sprinkle the blood tomorrow. That's problematic. Once you have in mind to do the zrika outside of the prescribed time, the carbon is possible. Therefore, what? Therefore, if subsequently, let's say that was during shechita, let's say now during Kabbalah. So what happens? The Kohen has in mind now to consume the carbon outside of the permitted area. So I'll say, what's the halacha? Under normal circumstances, or let's say easier, consume it outside of the permitted time. So we'll say under normal circumstances, that would what? That would make the carbon pigul. As we're going to see now, that carbon doesn't become pigul. Why not? Because a carbon could only become pigul when beforehand it was permitted. Since the Kohen essentially already invalidated that carbon with what? With the machshava, to sprinkle the blood tomorrow, by definition the carbon is already pasul, therefore can't become pigul. We're going ahead a little bit. Now watch this. If we accept Shmuel's premise that sprinkling of the blood, even in the wrong place, is still okay, right? Remember, Shmuel's whole premise, I will say, was what? That as long as that blood gets on the Mizbeach, even if what? It's in the wrong place of the Mizbeach, it's good. That's what we say, Shalobim komo kim komo dami. If you accept that premise, hi pasal pigolhu, then I don't understand why you're saying that the carbon is pasal, it should really be pigol. Amar Marzutra, zrika desharia basar ba'achila, maisi lidei pigol. Zrika de lo sharia basar ba'achila, lo maisi lidei pigol. So we'll say, this is what I just told you before. So Marzutra said no. We'll say, it is only a zrika, only when the zrika permits the meat for consumption, that same zrika ultimately again could cause pigul. But zrika that does not permit meat for consumption cannot become pigul, which is another way of saying the only way a carbon could become pigul if the carbon was already permitted beforehand. But if the carbon was already usher because of some reason, then the pigul status cannot devolve upon the carbon. So I'll say, for example, in this case, when the Kohen during the shechita has in mind that he's not going to sprinkle the blood until tomorrow, then I'll say, what's the status of that carbon? We're done. Because once you have in mind to sprinkle the blood outside of the permitted time, we're done. Therefore, I'm going to both say, so therefore, when the Kohen subsequently has in mind, remember, how does the carbon become pigul? Let's say again, you have in mind to eat it 3 days from now, right? Or outside of the prescribed day. That's what makes it pigul. But that only can become pigul if the carbon before it was permitted. The carbon in this case is already compromised. Therefore, Marzutra says, because it was compromised, right? Well, say, by the way, you know what take-home message is? It takes so much effort to do things wrong, right? There's so much effort involved in this. It's so much less effort just to do the right thing. Mamish machshavas to eat it here, machshavas to do it there. Just have the right machshavas and life is so much easier. Amir Rav Ashi Marzutra. So Rashi says Marzutra, Minalachaha. Where do you know that from? Where do you know that concept from? I will say that in order for a carbon to become pigul, essentially again it had to have been permitted beforehand, and if the carbon ultimately again was not permitted, that halacha lemaisa again it can't become pigul. Where do you know that from? Dichsiv, because the pasuk says ve'im he'achol ye'achel mi basar zevach shlamav pigul yiyeh. Mishe pigulo garam lo. So we'll say, what do you see from here? Essentially, what the Gemara is saying over here is that halacha lemaisa im hachol yecham b'bsar zevach shlama b'yom hashlishi lo yiratzah makriv also pigul yeh. So what the Gemara is essentially saying is that, as the pasuk says, if the carbon was fit for consumption prior to your pigul thought, right? Which also means prior to your thought to eat it outside of the prescribed time or to eat it outside of the prescribed area, then the carbon will become pigul. But lamaisa mishe pigulo garam lo. The carbon only becomes pigul. I will say when what? When it was the pigul prohibition that caused the carbon to become aser. Yatsa zeh she'ein pigulo garam lo ela ister davar acher garam lo. We'll say, but this comes to exclude what? This comes to exclude something else, which lamaisa again she'ein pigulo garam lo, where the carbon didn't become aser because of pigul, rather the carbon became aser because of something else. For example, in this case, where the carbon becomes pigul, why rabosai? Because the kohen has the wrong intention in terms of when he's going to sprinkle the blood. So the Gemara says, Ihachi, if that's the case, if sule nami lo lifso. If that's the case, I don't understand. Then why is the carbon puzzle? Then why should it become puzzle? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak midi dahava amachsheves hinuach va'alibad Rabbi Huda. To which the Gemara says, we'll say, look at Rashi just a moment. It's the last two short lines in Rashi on the top. Amachshavas hinuach daha chashiv miha lahanicho lemachar. Because we'll say essentially what the Gemara says is any time that you have intention to leave a carbon, right? Essentially, anytime you have wrong intent, that's as if you are leaving the carbon past the prescribed time. And anytime you're leaving over the carbon past the prescribed time, by definition, the carbon becomes pasul. Rashi says over here, V'alibid Rabbi Yehuda, lekaman beparakala psulin, Tanan laniach midamo lamachar kosher. Rabbi Yehuda posel. So anytime Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that anytime you're intentionally leaving over something sacrificial, by definition, ultimately again that carbon becomes possible. Good. So we'll say. So I just want to point out, up until now, we've been focusing on the sheet of Shmuel. Remember again, let's link this all back to the Mishnah. Let's understand what's happening over here. The Mishnah introduced us to the concept that if blood applications happen outside of the wrong place, then what's the halacha, Rabosai? What's the halacha? The carbon is pasul. Right, the carbon is pasul. That was lashon of the Mishnah was pasul ve'ein bo kares. We're trying to now define what does pasul mean. Shmuel Silber so far we've had the shita. Remember again, when I ask you these questions, it's a 50-50, right? So if you just mumble, I'm going to assume that you're correct. So just go with that. So let's say. So remember again, we're trying to figure out what does pasul mean. So Shmuel says pasul means you can't eat the meat. The basar is pasul, but the carbon is effective. Where does Shmuel get that shita from? I said that is all predicated on one basic principle, which is what? Shalobim komo, kim komo dami. That essentially, Yaakov, you said that. Yaakov said that. You said shalom komo, I heard you. Right, good. So let's say, so essentially, right, what does it mean? Shalom komo, kim komo dami means that I will say, as long as that blood reaches the mizbeach, you're good. As long as the blood reaches the Mizbeach, you're good, even if it's not in the right place. We just challenge that assertion, and therefore this yields now another opinion. Reish Lakish Amar, both say now we have a second opinion. This is a second opinion in the interpretation of the Mishnah. Amar the Olam Pasul Mamish. So both say, so Reish Lakish says no. When the Mishnah says pasul, both say, what does pasul mean? Pasul means you can't eat the meat, and what else? And what else? The owners have not achieved atonement. So the carbon is totally invalid when you apply the blood in the wrong place. Yet Rabbi says something very interesting. Yet Reish Lakish agrees with Shmuel's assertion that what? That even wrongful placement of the blood, that even placing the blood on the wrong part of the Mizbeach is still an effective placement. Velo kasha, and there is no contradiction. Kan shenasan b'shtika, kan shenasan ba'amira. So this is actually quite interesting. So Reish Lakish brings an interesting distinction, because also remember again, the Gemara quoted the second brisa yesterday. So what does Reish Lakish say? Look at Rashi. Li'olam kigon kan shenasan b'shtika. Rashi says, we'll say it's in the wider, not in the widest lines, but the wider lines, 7 lines down. Kan shenasan b'shtika. Rashi says, Drasha dekra demashma bailim niskapru kishenasan shalobim koma b'shtika umasnisin diktani pasol benasan b'machshavas leachol basar chutz lizmano v'ashmoinim de pasol ve'in bo kares The machshavas zrika zu machshava hu livso the kim komodami. V'lo lefagel. This all right. So we'll say this outside. So Reish Lakish says as follows. He will say if the Kohen goes ahead and essentially does the blood application bishtika silently, then I will say ultimately again it will be good. But ultimately again, when there's an amira, when there's an accompanying statement, that's when it's going to be problematic. So again, if you look for just a moment. Fine, we'll see this afterwards. So Tanan, so we'll say now the Gemara phrases the whole question that the Gemara asked on Shmuel, the Gemara asks on Reish Lakish. So Gemara says Tanan, Chishev liten asani turn lamata lamata ad midi dehava machshava sinuach v'alibud Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll say now the Gemara just did. We'll say is condensed an entire amid of questions in 4 lines. So the Gemara asks all the same questions we asked on Shmuel and asked them again on Reish Lakish. Fine. The Gemara now advances another opinion, Rabbi Yochanan. So we'll say now we have a third opinion as to the interpretation of the Mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Idi v'idi shenasan b'shtika. We'll say now both the brisa that we quoted on Amud Beis as well as the Mishnah is where the Kohen did the blood application and didn't say anything. V'shalo bimkomo lav kim komo dami. Well, so Rabbi Yochanan comes along and he challenges the basic assertion that was central to the Shidos of Reish Lakish and Shmuel, namely, shalo bimkomo is lav kim komo. We'll say, when you place the blood in the wrong place, that is as if you threw the blood on the ground. So we'll say, so therefore again, you place the blood on the ramp, that is not the equivalent of placing the blood on the side. Shalom komo lav kim komo dami. Watch this. V'hadiika dam hanefesh, hadeleka dam hanefesh. So we'll say, watch this. So Rabbi Yochanan says, if you do a wrongful blood placement, I will say, what is it all dependent on? What is all dependent on, I will say, is at the end of the day, is there more dam hanefesh available? Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Idi v'Idi masnisin diktani paso v'leka takanta umasnisin dechala psulin diktani takanta shenasan b'shtika. We'll say, watch this. Rabbi Yochanan says, we'll say, when you go ahead and you place and you do a wrongful placement, blood placement on the mizbeach, we'll say, so whether or not that carbon is possible is dependent on one simple thing, which is there more blood? Now remember again, for zrika purposes, it's not just any blood. You need dam hanefesh. What's dam hanefesh? Dam hanefesh is that blood that initially spurts out. We'll discuss, by the way, how long, meaning blood could spurt out for a while. So we'll discuss again what's the window that's called dam hanefesh. So Rabbi Yochanan says something very interesting. So shalobim komo is lav kim komo dami. If you place that blood on the wrong place of the mizbeach, what's the status of that placement? Here we go. What's the status of that placement? Puzzle, right? Puzzle. Why? Because again, you got to get it on the right spot, and if it's not on the right spot, it's puzzle. What Rabbi Yochanan says is, but what you do, and this is very interesting. What you do have the possibility for Rabbi is what? Is a do-over. Is a do-over. If there's more dam hanefesh, if you have more blood available, you have the opportunity to do the zrika again in the right spot. So the Gemara says, watch this. So Tanan Pasal, Vein Bokaris. So also remember again. So our Mishnah said Pasal, that when you place the blood in the wrong place, it is Pasal, but it's no Karis. Bishlam Reish Lakish, Hainu Diktani Pasal, Vein Bokaris. So also according to Reish Lakish, I understand why the Mishnah uses the lashon of its Pasal and in Bokaris. Rashi says, Bishlam Reish Lakish, Duki Mastisen Kishnas Machshava. It's trich lemisne ein bokaris lashmina dafagav dechashe ben zrika toch letoch zmano ein opiko. So I understand ultimately again according to Reish Lakish why the Mishnah uses the verbiage of pasal ve'ein bokaris. El Rabbi Yochanan, my ein bokaris. Rabbi according to Rabbi Yochanan, why does the Mishnah use the lashon of ein bokaris? Of course it's ein bokaris. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, remember again when you do a wrongful blood application, what do you have the ability to do? A do-over. So of course, if you have the ability to do a do-over, if there's more dam hanefesh, then of course in bokaris. To which the Gemara says kasha. You're right. That is a question on shitas Rabbi Yochanan. Ulu Shmuel, my in bokaris, and about according to Shmuel, what does it mean when it says there's no kares? Hachi kamar. This is what it means to say in nasan b'machshava pasal ve'in bokaris. We'll say what it means according to Shmuel is that if you went ahead and you did the wrongful blood application b'machshava with the erroneous mindset. Puzzle, but nevertheless there is no kares. Rashi says over here, the Shmuel my in bo kares, Diunami moki lebishtika. Hachi kamar im nasim machshava dechutz lizmano pasal ve'in bo kares. The Rebbe said, according to Shmuel, if you went ahead and you did the blood application with the intention that you were going to go ahead and consume the carbon chutz lizmano, it is pasal, but there is no kares. Rabbi Yochanan. Ish shalobim komo lav kim komo dami. So we'll say, watch this. Now let's go back to Shittis Rabbi Yochanan. If according to Rabbi Yochanan we paskin that shalobim komo is lav kim komo dami, that's when you do a blood application on the wrong place. We'll say, what's the status of a blood application? It's as if it's so again. Wrong placement is tantamount to no placement. In other words, when you sprinkle the blood on a wrong spot of the mizbeach, that's the equivalent to what? Throwing the blood on the floor. Then what? So the Gemara says, I'm sorry. So lehavi ki nishbach minakli ala ritzpa. So we'll say, if that's the case, so we'll say, when you do a wrongful placement, according to Rabbi Yochanan, so shalobim komo is lav kim komo dami, then that should be the equivalent of, we'll say, the blood spilling on the floor, via sveno. And what should you be able to do? You should be able to collect the blood up off the mizbeach and once again resprinkle it on the right place. I will say now again. Apparently, we're going to explore this, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yochanan, I will say what happens in a regular case where the kohen. Can you imagine the kohen's carrying the keys doing the holacha? He trips, the blood spills. Apparently, and we'll see this inside, but apparently, according to Rabbi Yochanan, there is the ability. The kohen has the ability to gather up some of the blood or whatever blood he can, take it back, take it to the mizbeach, and sprinkle it then. If you hold that shalobim komo is lav kim komo dami, that when you place blood on the wrong part of the mizbeach, we'll say that is not a kosher placement. Then what? That should be the equivalent of spilling it on the ground. Just like by spilling it on the ground, you could gather it back up and resprinkle it. So what? So maybe go ahead and say the same thing over here. Go ahead, gather it up off the mizbeach, and what? And reapply it. To which the Gemara says, Savar la kiman da'amar lo yasfenu. Because we'll say apparently Rabbi Yochanan holds like the opinion who holds that no, even in a case where the kohen were to trip and spill the blood on the floor, you don't have the license to regather it up. Dam Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef Rabbi Yochanan hakol modin binisanan lemala shenasnan lemala shenasnan lemala lemata shenasnan lemata shlo kimitzvasan lo yasvenu. We'll say everyone agrees. Hakol modim, everyone agrees that ultimately, again, if you placed the blood in the wrong place, that's what? You cannot collect it and reapply it. Lo nechlaku ela binisanin lemala shenasnan lemata. So I'll say, what do they disagree? In the case of those bloods that should be applied below the red line, that were placed above the red line, or lemata shenasnan lemala, or something that was supposed to be placed below, that was placed above. Rabbi Yossi Omer lo yasvenu. So Rabbi Yossi says you cannot go ahead and collect it. But Rabbi Shimon Omer yasvenu. And Rabbi Shimon says, so we'll say that what? You can go ahead and recollect it. Umishna seinu kedivrei haomer lo yasvenu. But our Mishnah will say reflects the opinion that says what? Once you sprinkle the blood, I will say you cannot collect it. And by the way, it's not just once you sprinkle the blood. Apparently, the Tana of our Mishnah will say also feels that even if a coin were to trip and to spill the blood on the ground, you also would not go ahead and recollect it in order to go ahead and resprinkle it. Rav Chisda says, Rav Chisda Amar Avimi, Hakol modim benitonin lemata, shenasnan lemala. So they will say, watch this, everyone agrees that if the blood application was supposed to be done below the red line, and you put it above the red line, shelo ya'asfenu, that you cannot go ahead and collect the blood in order to resprinkle it. The chol shekain, and all the more so, benitonin lemala, shenasnan lemata. Ultimately, again, and all agree that what? That if the blood was sprinkled below the line, that if it's supposed to be placed above the line, and you placed it below the line, hoil v'damim ha'alyonim lematein boim. I will say this is actually interesting that in a case where ultimately, again, in a case of nisan lemala shenasna lemata, if the blood was supposed to be placed above the red line, but you placed it below the red line, so there are those who say that ultimately, again, that is going to be kosher. Why? Because Lamaisa, anything you place above the red line will ultimately what? Come down below the red line, meaning it drips down, obviously, at some point in time. Lo nechlaku, where's the machlokes case? Ella benisanin lifnim shenasnan b'chutz, or b'chutz Shenastan lifnim. But say, where does the machlokes case come up? Not as much about erroneous placement above the red line or below the red line, but rather, again, erroneous placement inside or outside. In other words, let's say you took a carbon that was supposed to be offered up inside, out on the outer altar, and you went ahead and you offered up on the inner mizbeach, or vice versa. That's where the real machlokes comes up. Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion, that's what Rabbi say, that if you offered up, if you sprinkled the blood, or you did any sacrificial rite on the wrong mizbeach, what do? Gather up what you did, and now bring it to the right mizbeach. Look at Rashi for just a moment. It's almost right across in Rashi. Rabbi Yossi Omer Yasvenu, Dechivan de la mizbeach ze lo hayaroi lo kalti klal. But see, now this is actually very interesting. Rabbi Yossi holds that when you do a sacrificial rite on the wrong mizbeach, then what? That is a totally irrelevant action. Because it is a totally irrelevant action, therefore what? Therefore, again, all you need to do is pick it up, right? Gather up whatever you did and bring it to the right mizbeach. He says the placement on the wrong mizbeach has absolutely no sacrificial impact. Therefore, gather up what you did, bring it to the right mizbeach. Rabbi Shimon, on the other hand, says, no, lo ya'asfenu. You cannot go ahead and collect it from the mizbeach. Look at Rashi. Rabbi Shimon lo ya'asfenu. Shar the shame mizbeach hayaroi v'hari balashum mizbeach. So also Rabbi Shimon is of the opinion that no, even though you offered up on the wrong mizbeach, lamaisa what? You put it on a mizbeach. Once it comes on a mizbeach, Rabbi say that is sacrificially. What's the right word? Not relevant, but sacrificially impactful, and therefore once it's done, it's done. You cannot collect and put it on the wrong mizbeach, on the right mizbeach. Which is actually fascinating machlokas. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, af anan namitanina. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said the truth is we also learn this halacha. Rabbi Yehuda Omer zos hi haola. So we'll say the pasuk says. So what the Gemara is doing over here, we'll say is as follows. It's the pasuk is Tzaves Aaron vezbanav leimor. Zos Toras ha'ola, hi ha'ola al mokda, al mizbeach kol halayla ad haboker, ve'yesha mizbeach tu karbo. In that pasuk, you have a number of what we'll call limiting or exclusionary words. We have Zos, hi, ha'ola. Right? Those are limiting words. What do we learn from there? Hare'elu mi'utin. We'll say these words ultimately again are exclusionary words. What does it come to teach me? Meaning it's coming to exclude something. Prat is coming to exclude. We'll say it's coming to tell me the cases where the ola will be invalid. What are the cases where the ola is invalid? Prat lenishchat balayla. We'll say it comes to exclude a case where what? The ola is shechted at night. That I will say ultimately again, if the ola is shechted at night, it's invalid. Vishenishbach dama, or the blood was spilled, or shiyatza dama chutz lekilayim, or ultimately again, that's what? Or if the blood, right, was taken out of the curtains of the azara. Im also in any of these cases, even if the carbon was taken up, im also tered. Ultimately, again, the carbon is removed from the mizbeach. Rabbi say, take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Prat l'nishbach damo l'nishchata balayla b'shiyatza dama aval shar psulin im alu lo yardu. Rabbi say, any other type of psul, if it was offered, we don't take the carbon off the mizbeach. L'kaman perak al mizbeach mekadesh b'far Shem Rabbi Yehuda demar. Fine. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Omer ola ainli ela ola. But I only know that this concept is so we'll say this is actually a very important principle. What the Gemara just told me was what I will say, that when it comes ultimately again to a carbon, even if things are done wrong, once it's done, it's done. There are a few cases where if it was done wrong, the carbon has to actively be removed from the mizbeach. So if the carbon was shechted at night, or if lamaisa again the blood spilled on the ground, or the blood was taken out of the mechitzos, the confines of the Beis Hamikdash, those are cases where the carbon is totally invalidated, and even if the carbon went up on the mizbeach, you take it down. But for any other type of invalidation, if the carbon went through anyway, once it's on the mizbeach, then what? We do not take it down. So the Gemara says, but however, Shimon says, "Ini ala ola." I only know this applies to an ola. Sheminayin lerabos shenishchata balayla v'shenishbach dama v'shiyatza dama chutz l'kilayim, v'halon, v'hayotze, v'atamish nishchat lizmano, v'chutz limkomo. So we'll say these are all the other cases of psulim. How do I know about all the other cases where ultimately, again, lon, the carbon was left over overnight, v'hayotze, or was taken out, v'atame, or was done by a tame, shenishchat chutz lizmano, or rejected outside of its prescribed time, v'chutz with the intention to consume it outside of its prescribed time, v'chutz limkomo, or to eat it outside of its prescribed area, v'shekiblo psulin, or somebody who was puzzled did Kabbalah, v'zarka as dama, or someone who's puzzled sprinkled the blood, v'ani tanan lemala shenaslan lemata, or blood that was supposed to be above the red line was placed below the red line, hani tanan lemata shenaslan lemala, or below the line was placed above the line, v'ani tanan b'fneim shenaslan b'chutz, or for that matter, again, it was supposed to go on the inner mizbeach, went on the outer, or the outer went on the inner. So the Gemara says, v'achata sheshachta shelo lishman, or excuse me, ha'pesach v'achata sheshachta shelo lishman, or pesach or chatas that was done shelo lishman, minayin. We'll say, how do I know, again, ultimately, again, that these psulim apply to other kavanos, not just Ola as well? Talmud Lomar, Toras Ha'ola. Therefore, the pasuk says what? Toras Ha'ola Riba. Riba Torah Achas L'Chola Olin Shim Alu Lo Yardu. Osei teaches me again that there is one Torah for all karbanos, teaching me that even in a case where something wrong was done with the karban, nevertheless, again, if it was offered up, we do not take it down. So again, the Gemara just teaches me an incredible, we'll see this in the Rambam in just a moment, but really teaches me an incredible halacha. An incredible halacha, I will say, which is that halacha l'maisa, even if certain things are done wrong with the karban nevertheless stands. In other words, if it was offered up, we do not take it down from the mizbeach. I will say, but even this halacha has its limitations. But even this halacha has its limitations. I might have thought that this includes even, let's say, I offered up a sacrificial animal that was rove nirva, either that was sodomized or the animal sodomized something else. V'amuktzah, an animal that was set aside for avodah zarah. Ne'evad, an animal that was worshipped for avodah zarah. Esnon, which was an animal that was given to a harlot for payment for her services. V'hamechir, or an animal that was exchanged for a dog. V'hakilayim, or crossbred animals. Treifa, an animal with some type of injury that's going to cause it to die imminently. The Yotzei Dofen, or is actually very interesting as well. An animal which was delivered through a C-section, which is also, again, usher, cannot be offered up as a carbon. I might have thought said that even in all of these cases, if the animal was offered up, then what? We just let it stay on the Mizbeach. Talmud Lomar, Zos. Therefore, both say the pasuk says Zos. No, only certain disqualifications allow the animal to remain on the Mizbeach. But the rest of these disqualifications are also require the animal to be removed from the mizbeach. But I don't understand. How do you know which disqualifications allow the carbon to be offered up, but which disqualifications require the carbon to be taken down? To which the Gemara says, I'll tell you. We'll say essentially, again, the Gemara says, any carbon that, I guess for lack of a better term we'll call it, has a pre-existing condition. If there's a pre-existing condition, if you put it on the Mizbeach, you have to take it off. Any carbon that developed a condition while in the status of its while in the different stages of its avodah, that's the type of carbon which, if offered up, can remain on the mizbeach. So, for example, again, if the animal was sodomized, that's a pre-existing condition. Worshipped for avodah zarah, pre-existing condition. Those things, then halacha l'maisa, again, animals are treifa. Those are things that are supposed to be, even if you put the animal on the mizbeach, you have to take it back down. But for other karbanos, which I will say the psul developed in the midst of the carbonic process, that ultimately again, if it was put on the mizbeach, can remain there. So katani miha, we'll say, but again, so what do we see from here? Hanitonin lemata shenoslan lemala. I will say what we do learn is that any carbon that was supposed to have its blood application below the red line, that was placed above the red line. Lemala shenasan lemata. Or for that matter, again, it was supposed to be above the line. It was placed below the line. Below Polig Rabbi Yehuda. And we see Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue on this case. My time, what's the reason? Lav mishum de kalte mizbeach. It must be because Rabbi said that ultimately, again, once the offering came on the mizbeach, then lemais again it remains, even though things were done wrong with the carbon. Ushma mina lo yasano. I will say, what do you see from here? Ultimately, again, that once the blood was applied, we do not recollect it, and once the blood was applied, albeit in the wrong place, we don't what? We don't recollect it and reapply it. Rabbi Lazar says, Mizbeach hapenimi mekadis. So we'll say, the Gemara now switches gears here to just a different halacha for a moment. We'll see the halacha lamais in both of them. So Rabbi Lazar says as follows, Mizbeach hapenimi mekadesh psulin. Rabbi Eliezer says that Rabbi say if halacha lamaisa, so literally again, if you place, look at Rashi, mekadesh psulin, third of the widest lines, shim alu lo yardu af agav lo ksiv kra ela b'chitzon. We'll say, so Rabbi Eliezer says as follows, that if you offered up something on the inner mizbeach, even though again it wasn't supposed to be offered up on the inner mizbeach, or for that matter again, you did something wrong on the inner mizbeach, the Rabbi say, what's the halacha? Mekadesh psulin. Ultimately, again, the inner mizbeach is mekadesh it. The carbon is effective. What's the novelty here? Tani, we learned this. Hani tanim bifnim. But remember again, the Mishnah explicitly told me that a carbon that was supposed to be offered up on the outside, that was offered up on the inside, is meaning again we learned puzzle, but in bokaris. To which the Gemara says, Ime hasam, if you were to learn from the Mishnah, hava amina hani mili dam dechazile. I would have thought that only applies like to things like blood applications, which ultimately is done on the inner mizbeach as well. Aval kometz delo chazile imalo. But also saying kometz, which is what? Which is the carbon mincha. Ultimately, again, that is not offered up on the outer mizbeach. Is only offered up on the. Is not offered up on the inner mizbeach. Only offered up on the outer mizbeach. I might have thought that if it was erroneously offered up there, it should not be good. To which the Gemara says. Kamash Rala, no. That Rabbi say the inner mizbeach has, once something is offered up on the inner mizbeach, even if it doesn't belong there, the inner mizbeach is meratza. So meisvei kitores zara sha'ala al gabi mizbeach turad. But yet we learned that what? That if you have kitores zara, right? We'll say if you have an illegal kitores offering that was offered up on the mizbeach, it has to be taken down. She'im lecha mekadesh psulin ela mizbeach achitzon bero'ilo. Because I will say, ultimately, again, the only thing that sometimes works is if what? The Mizbeach HaChitzon, the only time where an illegal offering will work is if it's on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, the outer Mizbeach, but something that is normally offered up on that Mizbeach. But Ketores, which is never offered up on the outer Mizbeach, Rabbi say, if it's accidentally put on the outer Mizbeach, what do you do with it? You have to take it down. Chitzon in, so what do you see from here? Chitzon in Panimilo. Rabbi say, you see from here that what? That it is only the outer mizbeach Rabbi side that has the ability that if you offer up an illegal offering on it, that the mizbeach hachitzon has the ability to accept that carbon. But if that same process is done on the inner mizbeach Rabbi side, it doesn't work. Taritzachi, explain it this way: Kitores zara sha'ol salam mizbeach hachitzon. I will say, watch this. If you had an illegal kitores offering that was offered up on the outer mizbeach, teireit. Ultimately, again, that has to be taken down. She'in mizbeach hachitzon mekadesh psulin ela haroilo. Because also the only quote unquote illegal karbanos that the mizbeach hachitzon, the outer mizbeach, could retain are karbanos which have a place on the mizbeach. Which will say, essentially, what we're saying is as follows: there is a mechanism where even if a carbon is offered up in the wrong way, it could work. It could work, but there's a caveat to that. What's the caveat? It has to be the type of carbon that is normally offered up on this mizbeach. If this is the type of carbon that is never offered up on this mizbeach, then what? Then the mizbeach cannot help it. So, for example, if a coin accidentally goes ahead and offers up ketores on the outer mizbeach, Rabbi say, nothing doing. You got to take it down. Why? Because ketores has nothing to do with the outer mizbeach. We don't offer ketores on the outer mizbeach. Ketores is only offered up on the inner mizbeach. Therefore, if you make that mistake and you offer up ketores on the outer mizbeach, you have to take it down. However, again, the Gemara says, v'hapnimi, I will say, but the inner mizbeach is even stronger than the outer mizbeach. How so? V'hapnimi bein ro'ilo ubein she'ilo ro'ilo. We'll say this is actually quite amazing. The inner mizbeach, will say, what's the halacha? It has the ability, even if you offered up the wrong carbon on it. In other words, we'll say, even if you offered up a carbon that does not belong on the mizbeach panimi, right? Just it's not offered there. the Mizbeach Panimi is still able to go ahead and accept that carbon. My time, so we'll say the Mizbeach Panimi is even stronger than the Mizbeach Achitzon. Well, so remember, Mizbeach Achitzon can only work for a carbon that is supposed to be offered up there. So then even if certain aspects of that carbonic process are flawed, the Mizbeach HaPanimi could still accept that carbon. But if you put something on the Mizbeach HaPanimi, the Chitzon, I'm sorry. If you put something on the Mizbeach HaChitzon that does not belong there, right? For example, Ketores on the Mizbeach HaChitzon, then what? You got to take it down. Masha'inkim, the Gemara says, when it comes to Mizbeach HaPanimi, even if you put the wrong type of carbon on that Mizbeach Panimi, the Mizbeach could still accept it, and you need not remove that carbon from the Mizbeach HaPanimi. What's the reason? My taima, high ritzpa, v'hai klishar. So this is actually very interesting. The Mizbeach HaChitzon, the outer Mizbeach Rabosai, is considered to be ultimately an extension of the floor, an extension of the ground. Rashi says, high ritzpa, 4 lines up from the bottom in Rashi. Bebinyan avanim shelo nimshach lefichach in kidushasa bazechamura. We'll say it's a stone structure that is considered to be an extension of the ground. Therefore, again, its ability to accept karbanos is limited to the types of karbanos which are supposed to be offered up on it. On the other hand, the Mizbeach HaPanimi Rabosai has the status, actually quite beautifully, of a kli sharis. It has the status, ultimately, again, remember it's made of gold, it has the status of a utensil. Because it has the status of a utensil, its kedusha is more acute. Because its kedusha is more acute, apparently, it has the ability to accept any type of carbon on it, even if what? Even if it's not the right type of carbon. And Rabbi say, listen to this. This is the halacha in the Rambam. So the Rambam paskins, this is in Perek Gimel of halacha Yurches, Psulei Mekdash. Listen to this. Mizbeach HaPanimi, Mekadish Psulin, Bein Ru'uyin Lo, Bein She'un Re'enan Ru'uyin Lo. Rabbi say, the inner Mizbeach has the ability to accept all carbonos. Whether it is a carbon that should be offered up on it, shouldn't be offered up on it. Avam Mizbeach Achitzon, but the outer Mizbeach, Eino Mekadish Ela Psulin HaRu'uyin Glo Kimo Shebe'arnu, only has the ability to accept carbonos of the type which are normally offered up on the Mizbeach Achitzon. Ketzad, watch this. Mizbeach Achitzon Shalalo Zevachim Shenifso Lo Yardu. So let's listen to this. For the outer Mizbeach, if let's say you have a regular carbon that became puzzle, but for some reason again it was offered up, once it goes on the mizbeach, then what Rabbi say? You don't take it down. Also lo ketores zara tered sheina ketores zara ru'il mizbeach hachitzon. We'll say if a kohen accidentally saw any type of animal offering or mincha offering that was offered up on the outer mizbeach, Rabbi say once it was offered up, even though it's a flawed carbon, nevertheless what? You leave it alone. You leave it alone. However, if a kohen accidentally offered up kitores on the mizbeach hachitzon, then what Rabbi say? You take it down. You have to take it down. On the flip side, of a mizbeach hapanimi, sha'ala lo kometz mincha bein kasher bein pasol lo yered v'chein ki yotzei bazeh. Rabbi say again, if you offered up the wrong type of carbon on the mizbeach hapanimi, once it's been offered up, you do not take it down. So the Gemara says, "Kishem sham mizbeach mekadesh asaroi lo." I'm sorry, "V'mzech mnil sha'alo komas mincha bein kasher bein pasol lo yered v'chol ki yotzei bazeh." So we'll say, again, the Rambam goes on. We'll say, so that's the halacha. That's a dramatic distinction between the Mizbeach HaChitzon and Mizbeach HaPanimi. One other, we'll say, just to close out the series, because now we got up to the Mishnah, we'll say, listen to this. How do we paskin about the halacha in the Mishnah, about wrongful blood applications? Dam. So this is the Rambam Beis Yud. Dam shemitzvah solitin also lemala mechatzia mizbeach shenasla lemata. O shemitzvah solitno lemata v'nasla lemala. O shemitzvah solitno b'fnim behecha v'nasla b'mizbeach chitzon. O nitana al mizbeach hachitzon sheslan lefnim behecha. O shenasla nama nitana b'chutz al kevesh shlo getting al yisod. So we'll say, what happens if you apply the blood in the wrong place? Above the line, below the line, on the ramp as opposed to the side of the altar, not opposite the base, inside when it should have been outside when it should have been inside. We'll say, what is the halacha? Hare basar hazevach pasol va'afal pikein niskapru habaylim bo kevan shegia dam lemizbeach. So we'll say, Salacha lemaisa again, we paskin that as long as that blood makes it to the mizbeach, somewhere on the mizbeach, then what? The carbon is effective, but you cannot eat the meat. Why? Because afapi shegia shelo bimkomo harehu kimo shegia limkomo lechaper. As Rabbi said, we paskin like Shmuel. We paskin shelo limkomo kimakomo dami, and therefore again you can't eat the meat, but the carbon is effective. So as long as the blood was applied somewhere on the Mizbeach, even if it's the wrong place on the Mizbeach, you can't eat the meat, but the carbon is effective. Kapara has been achieved. When is this true? One last caveat. This is assuming the Kohen who's doing the avoda is kasher la'avoda. Avalim kibel akasher v'nasan lapasal v'nasan lapasal sanitan l'malamata v'nasan l'mifnim b'chutz v'nasan b'chutz l'vnim oshas al kevesh lo kinei reisod lo nifsal basar zevachim shar dam nefesh. And so listen to this. So now the Ram is just grouping both these cases. So we pass like Shmuel Shalom Kamo Dami. As long as the blood gets to the Mizbeach, someplace on the Mizbeach, the carbon is good. But the interesting case, what happens if a puzzle went ahead and what? Did the blood application, did the zvika. So we'll say, watch this. What's the halacha? The carbon is not puzzle. Rather, ela yachsir akasher v'ikabel shar adam nefesh v'yizrach adam bimkomo. But we do pass like Rabbi Yochanan, you can have a do-over. As long as there is still some dam hanefesh left, a Kohen kasher could come along and do proper zvika, and ultimately the carbon will be kasher.